Carl Dukes is someone that I know fans of this channel and fans on social media are going to want to hear from. And it is a reaction day for Atlanta
Sure.
sports fans, to put it mildly. And I know, being the leader for Carl Dukes, he was always big on 92.9 The Game when it came to calls on reaction day. So, Carl
Yes.
Dukes, first and foremost, man, always good to have you on the Good Shepherd YouTube channel. How you doing, sir?
Shep, me after that ass whipping last night. But look, life's good. I have no complaints, man. I'm enjoying things and from all standpoints of life. So look, man, I cannot complain. How are you doing, brother? You good?
I'm doing well, thank you, man. I think I told you this off the air. I hope I did. I miss being your lead-in for 5 years on the national side on CBS Sports Radio and the
It
Infinity
was
Sports
fun.
Network. It was a blast, man. And listen, you kill it on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta with Mike Bell. It's a 5 hour show. 5 hours is exhausting. Something tells me you're gonna have a lot to talk about in these 5 hours on Friday. So I just want to get your reaction. You said a butt whooping. You're down 61 points. You lose by 51. It's a 47-point deficit at halftime. Carl Dukes, you were up at 1.21 in the series. How the hell do you explain what happened these last three games, more specifically on Thursday?
Um, Thursday is it is an anomaly. The Hawks were not better than the Knicks. They did win two games and they were up. But the Knicks are a much better team. They're constructed better. They are ready for this moment, and the Hawks are not. The Knicks have Jalen Brunson and a closer and star and Karl Anthony Towns and the additional pieces on that team. That's a championship caliber team, and we knew that going into this series. What we did know is if Mike Brown would blow games, which I think he blew the first win for the Hawks by not calling a timeout and Mikal Bridges taking a terrible shot to end the game instead of having the ball in Brunson's hands. That's neither here nor there. We didn't know if Karl Anthony Towns would show up every game, which once he did, he was unguardable. The Hawks had no answers. And what we did know is that this team would lay down like a dog in the last three games and not show up. So, look, the aberration is the anomaly is you don't see a team down by this much in normal NBA playoff situations. And that's why it's historic. It's embarrassing. But at the end of the day, Shep, the Hawks weren't good enough. And going into the series and going into the postseason, I think most people who follow NBA basketball realize they were lucky to be there. This was a team that went into the season with Porzingis and Trae Young as their mainstays and thinking that they were going to be able to build off of that. Neither guy is here. And I told you Trae Young wouldn't be here months ago. And then they rebuilt this team basically four different times with trades, moves, and additional free agents. So this was really a hell of a coaching job by Quinn Snyder. I got to give him credit. He was catching a lot of heat because people were starting to wonder when is he going to turn this thing around. And he did a really good job of getting them to the playoffs. But this is the first step. This is not a championship caliber team, and I think they're far from it. To be honest with you, after this series, I think we learned something about the Hawks with Jalen Johnson, who I really think is a very good player. I do not think he is an A. I don't think he's a star. I think he's a very good B player. And so I think this team's going to have to figure that out. But last night, that is not the norm. And we know that. And that's why it was so shocking to anybody around the NBA who turned that score on. And you said, wait a minute, the Hawks have 15 points. What do we what I mean, I've seen high school games, teams score more. So I can't explain it to be honest with you, but I just know that there was a frustration, but at the same time, admiration for how the Hawks in the front office went about their business because I think they understand there is a bright future. And let me say this. The Hawks have a 29% chance of getting a top four pick with the deals that they've made going back to trading DeJounte Murray. That is going to be a hell of a pick for this team, and they've got to get it right because the Risacher pick, who was the number one pick overall in the league a couple of years ago, just doesn't look like he's got it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I had two more questions for you, and one of them was about Zaccharie Risacher. Um, Carl, I don't have to tell you this. The best player by a mile from that draft class is Stephon Castle.
Correct.
Can you imagine what this team would have looked like if they drafted Stefan Castle. And I know hindsight's 2020. Now look, guys develop at their own pace. We know Zaccharie Risacher is not going to be Victor Wembanyama. He's not
Yeah.
going to be Cooper Flagg. What really hurts him is he's the guy in between those two. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's like the modern day version of Sam Bowie. We only talk about Sam Bowie because he got drafted between Akeem Olajuwon and Michael Jordan. And that's the kind of history that Zaccharie Risacher is going to have to endure. But are you at this point, are you just like kind of giving up on him? Like it's just look, we absolutely missed on this pick, or do you still see a potential where he can be a factor? Because we know he was not a factor in year two, even less of a factor than he was in year one.
So a couple of things here, Shep. One, was Quinn Snyder in a situation where he's trying to win a series and in a win now mode in a series, you don't have time for development. You don't have time to put a player on the floor and take minutes away from guys who may help you win a series, especially when you're up 2-1. Now, I felt the Hawks could do exactly what they did last night, which was take it to 6 or 7. I did not think they'd win this series.
Right.
But with that said, when you're up 2-1, why not us? Why not? So you start to think about it differently. And the first question you have to pose is, was this a situation just solely based on the playoffs where you said, you know what? He hasn't helped us enough where I can put him in a game, take minutes away from somebody who could be more productive, and therefore I've got to limit his minutes.
Sure.
Or was this simply Risacher through the course of the season, which is what I believe, because his minutes got reduced way before the playoffs? Challenged to be better rebounder, challenged to play better defense. Those things didn't transpire, and now you had other options on the bench to go to. But none of those other options were really viable, let's be honest. I mean, you're talking about Corey Kispert and Gabe Vincent. I mean, pick your guy, right? It shouldn't have been any of those guys based on the upside of a guy like Risacher. But
Except for JK. I don't know if you agree with that or not. I think
I
he is
do.
the one guy on that bench who may have the highest ceiling of them
I
all.
do.
Yeah.
No, he does have a high ceiling.
Yeah.
He's just very inconsistent. And I don't know if they pick up the $24 million option. I think this is something they really have to think about because even in these playoffs, as good as he was for 2 games, he was
Yeah.
shit for 3.
Yep.
So, when you think about like, okay, big picture, is Kuminga your 6 man? Is he a starter on this team? You know you're about to get a top draft pick. You know you've got financial flexibility moving forward. You're going to add a big time free agent. As far as Risacher, have I given up? We ponder this every day. Can they make a young player he's got a lot to offer much better? Let me tell you what I think makes Risacher better. A true point guard. He played better when Trae Young was here. Why? Because
Yes.
Trae could create and get him those open looks. He's not a guy off the bounce to create his own shot. He is a guy that you need to create for. And when you do that, and if he was to play better D and was to rebound better, is it worth riding this out? I think based on the fact that he's still in his rookie deal, it's
Yeah.
cheap. So let's see where that goes. Go get a point guard. Go get a distributor, which is what this team now needs. Ironically, all this stuff we said about Trae, you
Right.
get back to it now. That's what this team is lacking. And
Right.
going into the playoff, you lack size and you lack a true distributor. That's not CJ's deal, right? CJ's
Yeah.
always been the other guy.
Yeah.
So that's how I would describe Risacher. I'm not going to say he is a bust yet. We've
Yeah.
seen him play well, but I just think Quinn Snyder, the coach, was in a situation where, you know what, if I run this guy out here and he doesn't do a damn thing in this series, he's going to get killed. It's just, I'd rather not play him and everybody wonder why than he is just that bad and we moved on. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how they go about that.
You know, Carl Dukes, it's interesting. Obviously, of 92.9 The Game does afternoons from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Mike Bell. Everybody check out the show. It's one of the best shows in the country. I'm not just saying that. I've been a fan of Carl Dukes for a long time, and he's only getting better. Carl, my comp to this is Jermaine O'Neal.
Okay.
Jermaine O'Neal got 4 years of no playing time,
Great
and
point.
everyone labeled him as a bust for 4 years. He ended up being the best player from that team in his career compared to everybody else. He just needed a new system or a new team.
Mhm.
Obviously, he goes to Indiana, becomes a six-time NBA All-Star. But that's why I don't want people to rush to judgment on Zaccharie Risacher. These things take time. Not
Mm.
everyone's going to be Wemby. Not everyone's going to be Cooper Flag right away. You know, you can be Larry Johnson and look like you're going to be a top 50 player of all time, and then your back goes out. So, to your point, there's a lot of upside with Zaccharie Risacher, and I want to get you out with this, Carl Dukes. I know it's a huge day for you on 92 and on the game. I know you watch Inside the NBA, and they had an interesting perspective. Don't be such a prisoner of the moment with this situation. Yes, it's an ugly loss, but it's the same impact as a 1 point loss,
Yeah.
right? So with that being said, Carl Dukes, you know this Hawks team did finish with the best record in the Eastern Conference in the last 25 games, where I believe the last 24 games they were 19-5 to
Hmm.
finish out the season. They win 46. It's the most wins they've had since that 2016 team. So most wins they've had in a decade. And to your point, with a team that's on its fourth version in this very regular season. So if we could just remove ourselves from the gut punch of a 51-point loss, when you look at the Hawks as they are now, as you look towards next season, are you encouraged or are you discouraged?
I'm very encouraged. I think they're going about this the right way. The Trey experiment had run its course. It had been 8 years. The former front office was unable to put the right kinds of players around Trey. It wasn't all Trey's fault. So Trey lovers out there will see this and be like, "Oh, Dukes is a hater." No, it wasn't all his fault. Trey and I have had this conversation. Um, to the extent of, they went out and made a move to go get DeJounte Murray. It was the wrong move. You had two ball dominant point guards,
Yeah.
two distributors. That doesn't work. Trey needed shooters and size around him. So
John
they didn't
Collins. John Collins was a great fit. You know that.
they didn't address it. And
Yeah.
so with that said, this turnover and the way that they're going about this, I'm very encouraged. And you're right. I mean, look, if you are in a sports town long enough, Philly, Boston, New York, Chicago, pick your town, you're going to see a shit game every once in a while. And so that last night was just that. But that doesn't mean, like, when the Cubs were terrible, that Cubs fans never thought that they'd win a World Series, because in 16, when they did, you went, holy shit, they actually won. And
Yeah.
then you look this year and you say, well, they're starting off terrible and they spent all this money and now they're back in the hunt. You have to continue to think that this thing is moving in the right direction if you believe in management. And Ansei Soleil, guys, came in, that's the general manager for the Hawks, came in second for executive of the year. I don't even know if people know who this dude is. I don't think people around the league, outside of the league, know who this guy is. So that tells you how he's going about this. And I think he's got a plan to get this team to where it needs to be. Now, I'm not telling you they'll be Eastern Conference Finals, contenders next year, but I don't think it's going to be long. I think this is going to get right here fairly quickly. And because of the makeup of the guys he's bringing in, Atlanta is an attractive destination. Look, let me tell you about NBA guys. If you think last night's loss deters free agents from coming to the ATL, you're wrong. You're out of your mind. First of all, do you have the money to pay me?
Yep.
Secondly, what is your culture? And you've seen it. You just discussed what happened in the second half of the season. Why?
Yes. Lights out.
Why? Culture. The guys came in, they bought in. That Snyder finally being able to coach the way he wants because he has a group that bought in. It wasn't just a me situation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you're winning games. NBA free agents, one bad loss is not going to deter a guy from coming here.
But defend this position though, and just very lastly, because you hear so many people talk about this, it does seem like that was too much of a pro Nick crowd in
Oh,
game
it was.
three, game four, in game six.
It
And
was.
and and if I'm a free agent, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if that happens in Boston, right? I don't know if that happens in
No,
LA.
it's fair.
Right.
But you know what I'd tell that free agent? Come help us win. Change it.
Yeah.
You win consistently. You bust your ass. You show out every night. Let me tell you, Dominique did not win a championship here, but you couldn't go to an Atlanta Hawks game and not see Hawks fans going nuts because they knew they were going to get 150% every night from that guy. Come here and help. Change it. If you think that's the issue, that, oh, there's going to be more of this fans than our fans, then that's on you to give us a product that we're proud of. And I don't want to sell my tickets. Dude, ain't no way I'm giving up my tickets. That is up to the team and the players to help change. Every city, I can go to any Cowboy game I want to right now. Cowboy fans, you know it, I know it. It's the nature of where we are in sports. So when you see that, I don't think, again, that should be a deterrent. But if the Cowboys were to win 3 Super Bowls right now in a row, Shep, you couldn't find a Cowboy ticket. You couldn't give one up. So it's all around sports this way. But you're right. New York, I get it. Boston, heritage cities.
Philly,
But for
Philly even.
places that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
transplant cities where people come to Atlanta and they never want to leave. New Yorkers, there are more New Yorkers here than New York because they come and they don't want to leave. It's the facts. So then when their team comes in, they go, oh, I got to go show out. And they're willing to pay $500-$600 for a $75 ticket. That's what happens. And I just feel like if the team continues to move in this direction and you're giving us 50 wins a year, you become the Spurs and you go on a 15-year run with Tim Duncan. I was in San Antonio. If you sat in the front row, they might ask you to play back when. Okay. So that all changed. Now you can't get a ticket. There's a season ticket holder list in San Antonio. No free agents wanted to go to freaking San Antonio in 97, 98, 99. They start winning. That's the difference.
Well, the difference in this particular interview is not only do we have somebody that gets the pulse of Atlanta, but someone that understands the national scope of everything. We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you on SiriusXM NBA
Yeah, man,
radio.
I'm glad you're killing it, man. I'm glad you're
Thanks.
enjoying the. I got a lot of friends on the channel. Zelt Schuyler, Brian, and
Brian Gilson. Oh,
Sam.
you guys, you know
Oh
Gilson.
yeah. That's my guy, and Sam Mitchell. All those guys, man.
You
I
know
know a
what's
bunch of guys on there.
I might. You know what's funny? I might be doing the finals post game shows with him because
Oh, nice,
they may bring on an analyst. So I mean,
nice.
we might
Let
have
me
to
know.
get you. We might have to
Let me
get you
know,
on. Put
man.
them up, Dukes.
Let me know. It's all good, man. I enjoy, I enjoy hoops, but
I know you do. I know you do.
it's you guys do a great job, and if you've not checked it out, I'm promoting you guys. Check it out, Serious NBA. It's cool because you get everything on that channel that you need from a hardcore NBA perspective, and now with the playoffs. Look,
Yes.
speaking of this, real quick, Philly might win this series, bro. Philly might win this series.
Well. I mean, listen. Since we're going here, and listen, I mean, you got a show to do, but I want to be respectful of your time. But put them up, Dukes. Here's what's scary. To your point, Joel Embiid had an off game in Game 6,
And they
like,
still won.
and they still won by 13.
Yeah.
They still. How does Paul George in years? I'm so glad we're talking not just Atlanta Hawks basketball because we're gonna talk Atlanta Hawks basketball with you always. But I'm glad you can talk NBA too. Put them up, Dukes. Like, how did you let a guy in year 16 outperform you if you're Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and you're in the prime of your career and you just got embarrassed getting outscored 28-11 on your home floor in the fourth quarter, and then the follow-up game you get outscored by PG-13 who gets
Yeah.
knocked for having the nickname Playoff P?
It's
That's
true.
embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, look, speaking of Boston, that's what they're talking about today, right? That's where they're talking about. And now it's shut up or put up. And if the
Put him
Celtics
up.
lose,
Oh man. By the way, follow this man at Put him up. Put him up. C Dukes on social media. Are you on TikTok, by the way?
I'm on across the board, man. Put
I
them up
love it.
across all social media platforms.
I love it.
If
I
the
love it.
Celtics lose, though, you know what they're going to say, Shep? Well, I mean, Tatum was out for most of the season. It wasn't our year. Bullshit.
They
You
weren't saying
guys
that when they were up in the fourth quarter going into
That's
Game
my
5 about the
point.
gentleman sweep.
You can't say that. And here's the deal. They have no answers for Embiid. A healthy Embiid, and I'm going to say this too for New York fans, because this was the discussion last night. Oh, Boston, Philly. He's going to kill Karl Anthony Towns, if healthy, in that
If
series.
healthy, but he's the Kawhi Leonard of the East.
Yes,
You
he
don't
is.
know from game to game if he's healthy or not. That's the
Nope.
problem.
Nope. But no, man, it's fascinating. There's so many good series that are going on. If let me tell you something too. If the Minnesota Timberwolves were healthy, watch out. Like the
But it,
DiVincenzo injury hurts. Obviously, Ant-Man, we don't know what the
yeah.
extent of that is. If that team was healthy,
But
woo,
Carl, they may be better with Io.
true.
Because we know Ant-Man's probably going to be back in a week and a half.
Yeah,
So he might be back for game three of the
yeah,
Western Conference semifinals. That changes everything. But you
yeah.
want to talk about
But
this
they
team?
need him to beat the Spurs. That's the
Of
thing.
of course, of course. No, listen, man. Listen, if I host with Sam Mitchell, we're getting you on for the
My man.
finals post game show.
It's all good. I love it. Hey man, we'll hook up. We'll do it. Yeah, look, frustrating day from the Hawks
Yes.
perspective in the A, but I will tell you this: the Braves are in first place. Hi, Mets fans. Hi, Philly.
Thank God for the Atlanta Braves. Put them up, Dukes. Thank you for your time, brother. Always
All
great
right, my
talking
man.
sports with you, man.
Take care, Shep.
Likewise.